So if you're going on vacation, you don't want to worry about situations like this.
This is the terrifying moment passengers on board a Delta flight bound for Atlanta watched the left engine burst into flames.
I mean, when you're going on vacation, you got enough things to worry about. But now having to worry about anything in the US aviation industry isn't something that people need. Which is why I'm very happy to hear that a lot of people in the GTL community have stopped going to the US and also stopped having layovers in the United States as well. There's something fundamentally wrong with the United States aviation industry right now, whether it's on the ground with TSA, overworked ATC controllers, or safety maintenance with the planes. So in this video, I'm going to show you another incident that happened with the United States Airlines, specifically Delta Airlines, and an interview with a political reporter who brings up a lot of good points on why things should be taken seriously. Oh, and also, it looks like the TSA agents hopefully should be getting paid soon. But does that mean ICE is going to be leaving the airports? You'll hear directly from the ICE boss himself. So let's get started on the first report with that Delta Airlines flight.
We begin tonight with those terrifying moments on board a Delta flight. Flames seen shooting from the engine. The flight had just taken off for Atlanta from Sao Paulo. Flames bursting from the engine. The tower alerting the pilots just after takeoff. Passengers can be heard panicking in the cabin. The plane then spent another 10 minutes in the air preparing for an emergency landing. ABC's Trevor Ault leading us off tonight.
This is the terrifying moment passengers on board a Delta flight bound for Atlanta watched the left engine burst into flames. Dramatic video shows sparks flying as the Airbus with 286 people on board was taking off from Sao Paulo, Brazil and gaining altitude. The airline is calling a mechanical issue, sending a loud boom through the cabin.
I don't know about you, but I think that's more than a mechanical failure. I mean, the engine's on fire. But I do commend the pilots for being able to land the plane safely. But it brings up the question, is Delta actually doing a proper safety and mechanical check on their planes? But as a passenger, once you step on that plane, these are things that you don't really want to have to worry about.
In this video, parts of that engine seen as it moves off screen, falling near the runway, igniting a brush fire.
This is an engine that's disintegrating internally, and what you see coming out the back, those sparks are actual pieces of the engine as it falls apart.
Panic erupting on board. You can hear several people screaming. The pilots leveling off their ascent at 4,500 feet, immediately transitioning to an emergency landing and staying in the air for roughly 10 minutes. Tonight, Delta is apologizing to their customers, saying the safety of their passengers and crew is their highest priority.
Yeah, tell that to the people on the plane. I'm pretty sure they were scared for their life. But this incident just adds another to the pile of things that people are starting to get worried about the US aviation industry. But let's not forget about the mid-air crash last year in Washington. And obviously there's the LaGuardia incident, which is still fresh in our minds, as well as the one I reported a few days ago in California, where there was another close call. Then you got TSA, and you have another incident with the US airline as well. But here's one I didn't have on my US aviation bingo card. There was a bomb threat on one of the flights, and I believe this happened a few days ago.
And also tonight, trouble on a separate flight to Atlanta.
Keep your hands up. Keep your hands down.
Authorities say an unruly passenger allegedly made a bomb threat as a Frontier Airlines jet from Columbus, Ohio was taxiing to the gate.
Alpha, he's in his seat. He's already threatened to kill the lady that's sitting next to him, and he's saying that he has a bomb on board.
Flyers on board terrified. Jessica Kinder was just a few rows away.
The flight attendant started saying, heads down, hands up, heads down, hands up.
The plane parking in a remote location as the FBI soon swarmed the plane.
And David, as for that engine fire on the flight out of Brazil, Delta says this was not caused by a bird strike. They are investigating what happened. Brazilian authorities are as well.
You know, it actually would have been better if it was a bird strike. I mean, not to the bird, but it would mean that it's a situation that wasn't in the control of the airline. But with all these situations starting to pile up and looking from the outside in, I know that a lot of us watching right now, we're from Canada or the international. We don't have to deal with this stuff. But I do worry for US citizens. I mean, this is something that's starting to get a little bit out of control. But in this next interview I'm going to show you, this reporter says what actually needs to be said. And it's that the US aviation industry is being pushed to the brink. And I don't think we should all be surprised if there's more incidents. So I'll get into that interview next. But before I do, I would like to give a shout out to Jean from our Discord server, who took this photo from Kelowna, British Columbia. Jean has been posting a lot of professional photos in the Discord server, so I really appreciate you posting it and sharing it with the community. I wonder if the Ogopogo has been spotted yet. Do you know? Okay, let's get started with the interview from MS Now, who talked to a reporter from the Political website.
Oriana Pollock. Her latest piece is entitled, "The Alarm Bells Are Going Off. Air Travel Hits New Lows." Tell us about your piece and tell us about the safety of the transportation system overall, air travel. Is it safe?
Yes, off the top of my head, I can say that it is safe. But what we're seeing here is that the system is being pushed to the brink again and again and again. And that is what federal investigators are going to look at, what happened at LaGuardia, and how to kind of unravel some of the damage that has been done as they try to modernize the system for the future. So right now we're seeing a lot of problems on the ground at airports, but we're also seeing how air traffic controllers are mitigating things in the air, how planes are going back and forth safely. Again, it's just a system that is very stressed out. Controllers are stressed out. Everybody seems to be quite stressed out.
Yeah, Oriana, to that point, this weekend, it just felt like air travel was sort of broken across the country. There are obviously long lines at a lot of airports, but even those that didn't, there are lots of flights cancellations. We had a couple of ground stops. It just things aren't working as they should, and where passengers, rightly, are getting more frustrated.
Now, I can totally understand. Everybody's frustrated when they're in the lines, and, that's a TSA issue right there. Well, not TSA themselves, but it's a government issue. But I'm more concerned about the overworked air traffic controllers and the safety of the actual planes. But these two things here, you can die from them. You can't die in a TSA lineup. Well, maybe you can. I mean, I don't know. They got a lot of guns down there. But my point is that I understand that people are pissed off with like the TSA lines and having ICE in the airports and stuff. But for me, at least, I mean, this is just me speaking for myself. Safety is a bigger concern for me versus the TSA lines. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me, or if you guys think I'm just being like too much of a safety nerd.
Again, it's Easter holidays. Easter's this coming weekend. Passover's this coming weekend. Like, these are huge. And then spring break for a lot of people follows that. This is a huge travel time. Those lines could return scenes of chaos and anger, too.
Yeah. As I talk about in the piece, we're supposed to be, moving toward the golden age of travel. And as I talked to an expert this past week, they said nothing feels golden about this. Nothing feels good about this. How the next week shakes out is going to be a make it or break it situation, not only for TSA that has the World Cup coming up and has, thousands of people coming to the United States, but also for, air traffic controllers, as I talk about in the piece as well. Just because, how are we going to modernize this system that we cannot unravel seemingly well as we're trying to move forward into the 21st century of air travel? And ultimately, we're going to see, again, how this shakes out in the next week, the next 2 weeks. And a lot of it will be on Congress to act to ensure that these things don't keep happening.
Well, good luck relying on Congress. I mean, didn't they just go on a recess or a vacation or something like that? I mean, Lindsey Graham was just spotted at Disneyland having fun. So I guess TSA and any sort of aviation industry stuff is not really a priority for Congress. Which is really sad if you ask me, because I don't blame a single TSA agent who decided to quit their job because of this. I mean, they've been on strike, 3-4 times now? Maybe 3 times? Meanwhile, the orange guy is making sure that his ballroom is bulletproof, drone-proof, and it'll have a massive military complex below it. I wonder how many millions this cost. Now, there's one more segment in this interview that I wanted to show. And CNN, they talked to the border czar. I don't know what the hell this guy's name is. But a straight-up question was asked, is ICE going to be leaving once TSA comes back? And his answer is kind of wishy-washy. Let me show you.
Once TSA agents start getting paid, will ICE agents leave the airports?
We'll see. It depends how many TSA agents come back to work, how many TSA agents have actually quit and have no plan coming back to work. I'm working very closely with the TSA administrator and the ICE director to decide what airport needs what. But, God bless the men and women of ICE. They're doing a job. They're plugging those holes. They're keeping the security of the airport at a high level.
Yeah, that was Trump border czar, Tom Homan.
Yeah, is right. I think that's how everybody is reacting right now. I have a gut feeling that ICE is going to be there for a little while. And this kind of reminds me around the time when, the United States decided to invade Venezuela and kidnap Maduro. And why I bring this up is because the orange guy did it, but there was very, very little pushback from anybody. So with no pushback, he decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and attack Iran. Obviously, that one kind of blew up in his face. But why I bring this up is because ICE agents are already in the airports. I don't see very much pushback, to be honest. And what I'm afraid of is that this is going to become the norm, And these clowns that you see in the vests, they're going to be at all US airports moving forward because nobody has pushed back. You know, sometimes I actually feel like I care more about the United States more than their own citizens. And I'm not even from the US. And in a sense, I actually do care for the United States because what happens to them is going to cause chaos, or already is causing chaos for the rest of the world. Because one day, I really do hope that things go back to normal, or at least somewhat normal. Obviously, the relationship isn't going to be forever dead, but like a normal Earth. And eventually, I do want to retire this channel, or maybe convert it to like a cat channel or something. But one thing I can probably guarantee is that my channel will be around for at least 3 years. Because there's going to be 3 more years of this kind of bullshit. Because unfortunately, I can't see the US and their current administration smartening up anytime soon. And when it comes to travel, if you are still insisting on going to the United States, enter at your own risk. Okay, that's all I got for today's video. If you're anticipating having the co-host around, well, unfortunately, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's just me today. Because she's been passed out for the last couple hours, and I'm definitely not going to wake her up. I'm going to let her be. If you found any value or agree with anything I said, or you want to see more from a Canadian and international perspective without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you're notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that'll show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.